Okay. Hello, everybody. For our COM 220 final presentation, we chose to focus on college enrollment and how it is declining. And this project was done by Claire Ridgway, Esther Van Wintergarten, Taylor Russ, and Harrison Burns.
Perfect. So to open up the presentation, we just wanted to give a brief history of the broader college attendance in the United States, just to give some context to what we're seeing today before we dive into the issue that we're talking about. So yeah, just a brief history of colleges. Before World War II, colleges were very different from what they are now. The first college in America was founded in 1636. That was Harvard. And for a while, that was really the only college until 1693. So it took almost 60 years for a second college to be founded. By the time of the Revolutionary War, there were 9 colleges in the States. And it wasn't until the early 1800s when colleges began to take on more of the educational format that we think of today. Before that, they had very strong religious ties to religious institutions. But people like Thomas Jefferson started to push colleges into more of a broader secular education. And even by 1900, even though a lot of degrees were 4 years, most people only went to college for 2 years just for very specialized education. But then post-World War I is when things started to change and evolve into what we think of as colleges today. So between 1920 to 1945, there was a huge increase in college attendance. It went from 250,000 to 1 million in about 10 years, and it just kept going up from there. By 1975, in 1975, it did. So that trend of going up didn't stop until 1975. And that's when college enrollment started to drop just a little bit. And a lot of people credit this to anti-war protests, the rise of independent research institutions, and other factors. And also the government started to pull out a large amount of funding for universities in the 70s. But it was still fairly steady. But then 2010, things started to change quite a bit just with the economics of college. Student debt it overtook credit card debt for the first time in United States history. And I'll talk about this later, but this shows a huge increase in college tuition that far outpaced regular inflation. And yeah, we can go to the next slide, Taylor. So basically, what changed between pre-World War I and post-World War I is that pre-World War I, colleges were associated with religious institutions. They were highly specialized training. And for the most part, high school diploma was sufficient for most work, to qualify for most work. But post-World War I, they broadly severed all ties to religious institutions. There was a much more broad appeal of college degrees for all lines of work. And a college degree started to supplant a high school diploma as the standard baseline for qualifying for a position. And finally, even within the last 30 years, you can see a huge change in how colleges worked just by looking at the tuition rates. The chart on the right starts in the 80s, and you can see the tuition rate rises exponentially, especially for private institutions, but public institutions also have seen a rate of 221% increase in tuition since the year 2000. And next slide. And yeah, so that's the broad history of colleges. And because of these huge raises in tuition and other factors, we're starting to see that the data suggests that maybe we are going to return to a pre-World War II mindset for these future college generations, which my teammates will talk more about.
So before we look into the reason of why college enrollment is declining, we need to first look at the state of college admissions. There's a significant rate of decline that in the fall semester enrollment fell below 18 million students which is a decline of more than 2 million students since enrollment in 2011. And we have seen a significant number of college closures around the nation. College enrollment is lowest in the past 8 years. There's been 11% decrease of students attending college, and college institutions are closing around the nation. That include public state schools, community colleges, for-profit and liberal arts, and small private colleges, which are most impacted by the decrease in college enrollment. There's also the financial impact and how it affects the closures of colleges. According to Moody's Investor Services, 1 in 5 small private colleges are having financial struggles due to revenues, expenses, and pricing powers. And analysis predicted that 15 colleges would be closed in 2019, which that rate is 3 times larger as compared to 3 years ago. There's the largest decrease of enrollment on the Northwest and Northeast and Midwest regions of the United States. And this is due to a change in demographics, competition in tuition prices, and emphasis on career training. And small private liberal arts colleges are struggling to stay open because of 3 main factors: a change in demographics, developing new programs such as technical skills, and competition with larger universities. There are 3 main factors that affect the college expenses. The first one is the United States economy. There was an increase in college enrollment in 2011, about the end of the recession, and the majority of people, working adults, returned to college during the recession, and that affected the increase of enrollment. And right now we have a 3.5% unemployment rate in the nation because students are entering the workforce and are leaving and postponing college, which affects the numbers of students attending college. The second factor, the United States demographics, there's a decline of high school graduates, and due to the low birth rates from 20 years ago, and that's why fewer students are attending college following high school. And the last factor is that states are investing less money into higher education, resulting in tuition increases. Numerous grants and scholarships keep the cost of tuition down for students and families. And without state investment, institutions are facing challenges without state investment that can help families.
All right, so now that brings us into the why that college enrollment is decreasing. And here is just a picture from 2012 to predicted in 2020 how far college enrollment will go down. And at the top it says college enrollment has been down 11% from 2011. So my first point on why college enrollment is decreasing, the climbing tuition costs. So as you can see, according to the picture on the right, the first high bar is private nonprofit 4-year, and the low bar is public 4-year. So a private 4-year nonprofit college is $49,879 per year, or in total. $21,950 for a public 4-year in state, and $38,330 for a public 4-year out of state. And why is college enrollment decreasing? Point 2, the fear of gaining student loans. So on average, the student loan debt in the United States is $31,172 per student, which is almost equal to an entire year of a private college. And that's just on average the student debt in the US, but according to this video, you'll see how different it is. Can you guys see the YouTube?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure.
The great enemy of writing isn't your own lack of talent, it's being interrupted.
There is a growing debate in the 2020 presidential campaign over student loan forgiveness, proposals to relieve graduates from thousands of dollars in debt. 43 million borrowers in this country owe about $1.5 trillion in federal student loan debt. Mark Strassman looks at some of the impacts in our special Eye on America series, Life and Debt.
I'm about 134.
I owe $108,137.48 in student loans.
$1,000 on minimum wage. Even 2 jobs wasn't enough.
This will undoubtedly affect me far into the future.
Oh, it is making it extremely hard for me to change careers.
A huge part of every decision that
If you want a good job, you have to go to college, but nobody really talks about the price.
Taylor Smith is a millennial on the move at this Houston tech company. But at 25, she has put off buying a house, getting married, and starting a family.
My debt has continued to build up as like one of my main stressors in life. I sacrificed the dream job to come home so I could take care of my bills.
And the diploma?
Yes, the most expensive piece of paper I own.
To pay for Texas A&M, Smith worked full-time throughout college. She also cobbled together 11 student loans.
Probably graduated with about $53,000 in student debt.
Did you understand what that number really meant?
That number hit me for the first time my last semester of college. And it was the first time I saw the full balance. And I had a panic attack immediately.
Panic attack?
An actual panic attack. You know, just thinking like, oh my God, I just got myself in $50,000 of debt.
Then she had to quit her first job, her dream job, registering voters in Colorado.
I was struggling to buy groceries. I was donating plasma and doing like psychological studies just to get a few extra dollars.
None of that would have been true without these college loans.
No, that was a big reality check, realizing like this bill that I have is what's going to hold me back.
All right. And that is just a look into a couple students' lives and how much college debt could actually change their lives. And so that gives a lot of students a big thing to think about if they want to keep going in their lives, thinking about how much student debt they're going to have instead of raising money. And my last point, a strong economy. The economy goes up and down quite often, but as the economy strengthens, unemployment goes down, which causes more individuals to leave college, postpone it, and head to work. This leads in a decline to student loans because individuals oftentimes can find a job that will roll in enough income that allows them to meet the needs for them to live comfortably. So all of these points kind of leave us thinking, well, what's going to happen to students and colleges in the future?
All right, so the future of college enrollment. I have 4 main things, which is recruiting, advertising, financial aid, and new additions. Sorry. Oh, I thought somebody said something. Never mind. All right, so for recruiting, you really want the high school students to be more involved in the recruiting process so that they'll want to attend the colleges. And that's totally up to the recruiter how they want to do that. But you want to have high school students explore more campuses because getting the whole campus experience is one of the main things to get a student to go to that campus. They want to feel at home and comfortable. And another thing is to start student recruitment activity early. And you don't want to annoy the students with emails, but honestly, you kind of do because that's what the students are most going to see because you're sending so many emails to them. You're wanting them to be there, send them updates on what's happening on campus. And even though they don't really read them, they'll still see the emails and the headings, of course. Those will probably catch their eye the most. Involving the parents is going to influence the student's decision immensely. And you also want to make the student the focal point, not the college. For advertising, I have college advertisement should be more focused and straightforward. Make it feel like a home that the students can potentially live there or feel more settled about deciding. You want to design effective performance funding models where public institutions are funded to create greater retention, better student learning, and increased degree completion. Digital ads such as on Instagram or Facebook, even YouTube, you want to display your advertising everywhere because social media is literally on everybody's phones nowadays, and that's a main source of capturing the students' eyes. Financial aid. Get the high school students more involved in financial aid and get them set up on that earlier, such as their junior year, so that they might be able to have the funds to actually go to their dream college. Revamp financial aid so it goes with the students' needs rather than the test scores in high school grades. And for new additions, Additions of new majors and or programs that will lure in more specific types of students, and also some campuses are adding new features to the campus to catch the student's eye. Louisiana State University added a pool with a lazy river in the shape of LSU. The University of Akron built a rock climbing wall as well. And for the social impact pros, you want less conflict on choosing a college or university. There's also going to be less anxiety when replacing all of your choices out. And another pro is less pressure of paying off student loans. Decline can also lead to a drop in tuition, which also might help the student to choose a college easier and not feel so pressured for the amount of student loans that they'll have to pay once they're done. There's also going to be a gaining in independence and earning money instead of spending. And as far as the social impact cons, is the shutdown of colleges, which is going to create less people enrolling, fewer higher educated adults. So those jobs that are in need, it's going to affect those. And not enough institutions, not enough people, and it's also going to affect international students and affecting majors that are in high demand.
And here's our Works Cited page.
Thank you.